Good evening, and thank you all for being here. My name is Jamie Bost. My pronouns are they and them. I'm a board member for Equality Loudoun, and I've also spent most of my life in this area. I've only been this colorful for the last couple, so I'd like to share a little story that I hope will inspire some and maybe give hope to some others in this challenging time. This story is about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Just 2 days back from our vacation in Paris from the Olympics, I was feeling energized and excited to get back to the office. I'm one of those people that actually likes work. I really like the job that I have right now. I've always had anxiety about travel and about leaving my routines, and that anxiety is heightened right now more than ever. I miss my team, I miss my besties, and I miss the place where I felt the most authentic. After our morning stand-up, the director of our organization, who's a U.S. Space Force colonel, asked me into his office. This is the first time that he'd spoken to me other than a brief hello while passing in the hallway. And yes, before you ask, the Space Force is a real thing. At first, I panicked. I didn't realize that he knew who I was, or what my name was for that matter. I was shocked and then a little paranoid, like I had done something wrong. I wrapped up the conversation that I was having, and then I went up and found his office. He checked in with me to see how my Paris trip went. He seemed unusually connected. Me still feeling like I don't know this person, like we had just met. He was my boss's boss's boss. He shared with me that Paris was one of his favorite cities and how happy he was that I had enjoyed the trip. He then reached over and closed the door, leaving us in his office alone. His mood changed to a more intentional and deliberate tone. He said he wanted to thank me for showing up and for being myself at work. I could see the empathy in his face. He thanked me for doing a great job and for being myself. And he said that he had seen a significant improvement in my team since I arrived. Then he told me that he had felt uncomfortable being around me and frankly was afraid to stand near me in the office. I was in shock. I stood there frozen, not knowing what to do. He went on and thanked me for teaching him. He was impressed that I had just showed up and done my job with no agenda. I mean, sure, I'm pretty good at my job. Actually, I'm really good at my job. But he told me that I had changed him. I had a major impact on him and his understanding of transgender people. I had been at this site for about 8 months as a technical lead for a small IT contract. I didn't know him. In fact, I don't think I ever had a conversation with him. I was wondering how my presence and my work had been impactful on him. This military officer, who's responsible for an entire operational environment, has been changed by me. He described to me how his view of the entire community has changed as a result of me just showing up, being myself, and doing my job. He talked about how professional I was and how I didn't push any agenda or any beliefs on anyone else, and how easy I was to talk to. He talked about how much he had personally grown and grown as a leader because of me. This felt like it came out of left field. I had no idea any of this was coming. As I stood there, my hands now shaking, chills covering my entire body, tears even streaming down my face. The gratitude that I felt, the emotions that I felt, I don't think I'd ever felt anything like this before. I was really proud. Then he told me a story of how he recently went to a hockey game. He was standing in line for food, and he looked over and saw these two men dressed like women. I cringed, immediately thinking, okay, these aren't really the right words, but we can work on that. He goes on to say that he's standing there thinking, what are these people doing here? And then he thought of me. He made this connection between me and these two in line with him, and he realized in that moment that they had shown up to watch the game that they love, the same game that he loves, and that they just wanted to enjoy a night out. They didn't want to hurt anyone or push any agenda on anyone. He realized in that moment that those people are just like me and just like him. With tears rolling down my face, dripping from my chin, now onto the floor in his office, I was unable to say anything or do anything. I was completely blown away. So I thanked him for sharing this with me and for talking to me. He went on to tell me that he's had a complete mind shift. He realized that he doesn't know what bathroom I use, and he didn't care. It doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. I nodded silently, so blown away by these things that are so obvious to me, but I'm witnessing this larger-than-life, decorated officer who's responsible for my entire organization having a complete mind shift because of me. I wanted to say something to him. I really needed to say something. And so somehow I found the courage and I said this. I had a lot of different job opportunities when I decided to come here. I knew that this technical work was going to be pretty straightforward. I've done this same type of work for most of my career. I chose this program specifically because I wanted to work in an environment just like this, where I would be uncomfortable and have opportunities to have these conversations. I was terrified to come here, but I wanted to do something challenging. I wanted to make a difference. Looking back, I figured that a government job on a military base was the best opportunity and likely the most challenging environment I could think of. I took that job so that I could help others to hopefully change their minds and to see us as regular people just trying to live our lives, serve our country, and support our teams. This job was my purpose. This is my why. I chose that job so that I could have conversations just like that. And I was terrified to show up. I wanted to connect with people and show them that we're not the freaks that some people think we are. And I actually did that. I achieved what I set out to do. As I was leaving, he said that I could get on his calendar and that he would love to hear more of my story. It didn't really hit me until a couple hours later as I was telling this story to a coworker. But I realized that this is probably the biggest achievement of my entire life. I was hoping to impact maybe one or two people, but I had no idea that I might impact or completely change the mind of someone with so much influence over so many others. I think my biggest takeaway is that this was not about me or my own progress or my work. It was about me realizing that the work that I've done has had an impact on him, and that he has now completely changed his view of the entire trans community. Think about the synchronicity of events that it took for me to get there, to go through my life, all those decisions, all the struggles, all the experiences that I've been through, to take this job and to show up and to finally feel like I could be myself. And then for him to go through his entire career, being taught to think one way and then form his own perspective, and to go to this free hockey game on Pride Night, and to see these two trans people enjoying a hockey game, and for him to see the connection between himself and me and these two hockey fans, and to realize that we're all the same. We're just trying to enjoy life and do a good job. It was me achieving the single biggest goal that I set out to do when my transition began 5 years ago. I wanted to show other queer people that they can be successful, and show the non-believers that we're just regular people trying to live our lives. I took that challenge, the opportunity to serve others, as the fuel to drive me to start my transition that I had been too afraid of for nearly 40 years. I'm amazing at my job. And I'm a damn good leader because of the fact that I'm trans, and I've been tempered in the fire of my transition. I'm no longer afraid to show up, to be myself, and as a leader, and I'm making a difference.